Hello everybody, this is Shane with For You News, sitting behind the wheel of a 2011 Mustang GT with the 6-speed transmission, and we're going to do a little ride along while I talk about the car a little bit. It's been kind of rainy, but you can hear the motor. The car pulls really hard, drives really good. It's got a great transmission. The 6-speed shifts smooth and fast. It's very slick. It feels a lot like a 5-speed from a 2010 or older Mustang with a short shifter on it already. It'd be really interesting to see what the aftermarket does for short shifters on this car, because as quick as the transmission will shift already, can't imagine what it'll be like with a short shifter in it. It'll be very nice for the enthusiast. This car, the motor is very strong. You can hear the sound the motor makes. It does not really sound like a traditional Mustang. It sounds more European to me. It reminds me a lot of a BMW M3. I was kind of hoping for a deeper sound, more like the old 2-valve engines that we had back in the early 4.6 days. The car drives very good. This particular car has the 19-inch wheels with the summer tires and the Brembo brake package. The Brembo brakes bring larger calipers and more stopping power with the rotors than your traditional brake system on a standard 2011 Mustang. The brakes have great pedal feel, very strong pedal feel. It doesn't require as much pressure to get the same stopping force as you would with standard brakes. I have a 2010 Mustang GT, and the Brembo brake pack on this 2011 Mustang is much better than the brake package that just comes stock on a 2010 Mustang, which is also the same brake package that's on a 2011 Mustang when you buy the standard car. We're going to turn around here and do a little more driving and go down some bumpier roads, give you an idea of how well the car rides on bumpy roads. Now I'm going to accelerate here, and once we get to a cruising speed, I want you to see how quiet the car is on the inside. One of the things that Ford put a lot of emphasis on was quieting down the interior of the car. The Mustangs are traditionally not quiet cars. Now, you're not going to confuse this with a Lexus, but right now we're doing 70 on the highway at 60, and this is the sound. It's pretty quiet. It's much quieter than a 05 to 09 Mustang. Now, this road we're going to go down right here is very bumpy. This is one of the worst roads in my area. And it's very nice. You can see the camera's jingling around a little bit. This car rides surprisingly well, given that it's on low profile 19-inch wheels with summer performance tires. The wheels on this car are 19-inch, like I said before. The tires are 255 40 19s. They're a Pirelli tire. I believe the tread wear is a 280, so it's a pretty sticky tire. It's quiet. They grip the road really well. The car handles really well. And overall, it's a very nice package. Now, definitely the most important thing about this car is the 5-liter V8. It's very fast. It pulls really hard, like I said before. It's got a unique sound to it. The car drives well. You can definitely live with this car on a daily basis. One of the other changes between the 2011 and the 2010 Mustang is the 11s have it's an electrically power assisted steering instead of a hydraulic power assisted steering like you traditionally have on a Mustang. Now, the steering at road speeds and high speeds on the 2011, it's very good. It's very precise. You feel a lot of the road. It's very accurate. It's one of the things I was worried about with electric steering. I was afraid that it wouldn't be very accurate, but it is. It feels really good. Now, I've had a few times driving this car around where I have found that the steering feels really strange. The thing that sticks in my mind the most is when you're taking like the highway down the street that we were driving on just before, the 2-lane highway. It's a split median highway. So to get from one side of the highway to the other, which I do all the time to go back into town from my house, they've recently paved that road, and you've got about a 3.5-inch drop between the road surface and the turnaround in the middle of the road, and that drop makes the steering get a little bit strange. It feels like the steering wheel is moving faster than the wheels are moving, so it loses some of its accuracy, and it's a little odd. It's something you can get used to, but it's just a little quirk that I found in the steering. Now, this transmission, one of the other things that the enthusiasts have been worried about is Ford introduced a first to fourth gear skip shift feature in 2011, and now they did this specifically for the EPA fuel economy ratings, and it's kind of slick the way Ford did it. They pulled it off very well. Most people, if you accelerate very fast at all, and you don't have to be smoking the tires and going for broke in this thing. If you accelerate very briskly at all, let me show you. We're accelerating right now. We're not particularly going fast. It allowed me to go straight into second just then. If you accelerate a little slower than what I was doing just then, it will force you to go from first to fourth gear, and it's a little strange if you're used to a 5-speed or a car that doesn't have a skip shift feature. And the reason it's a little strange is that it feels like you missed a gear. It gives you a strange feel in the shifter. You feel like you're kind of caught between gears. Now the cool part is, even if it tries to force the first to fourth upshift for you, you can put a little more pressure on the shifter and you can go on into second anyway. Now some people feel like there's something wrong in the transmission when that happens. I've read a lot of people that have bought, a lot of consumers that have bought the 6-speed version of this car, and they think something might be wrong with the transmission, and that's completely normal. It just takes a little more pressure for you to bypass that first to fourth gear skip shift feature, but luckily most of the time that's not going to be an issue. If you accelerate to 3,000 RPMs, you're usually going to miss that skip shift feature anyway. But overall, it's not bad. It's something that people worried about, and I'm sure we will find that aftermarket companies come out with tunes for these cars, and I would imagine that that'll be something that can be disabled in the tune. But it's not that big a deal. On all the driving I've done over the last week in this car, I've only had the first to fourth gear skip feature come up maybe 5 times, and that's when I was in town in traffic going very slow. And that hasn't been a real big problem. Now, I did encounter another problem with the first to fourth